Let's call the meeting to order. I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Hi, do you guys want to introduce yourselves and then we can get started?
I'm Dave Terrian. I'm chair this year, sewer commission.
Excellent.
Duval, member of the commission.
Paul Canoyas, Superintendent of the Sewer Department.
Fantastic. All right, you guys are here to talk about Article
Whatever number.
27, 28, 29.
Yeah, way at the end, which is not very nice.
You have to stay for the whole town meeting this year.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, that's all right. I have to stay till the end anyway.
That's true.
So let's just start with the first one.
So the first one's $100,000 from retained earnings. Came back last week certified, so it's, we have a self-sustaining enterprise fund, so every vehicle we purchase, every upgrade to any pump station we do, has to be paid for out of the enterprise. So our equipment, the vehicle replacement schedule will use about 45 to 50,000 of that next year, and then it's just, we still have, while the treatment plant and the two major pump stations, the upgrades are done, there's still 13 other smaller pump stations that we need to operate and maintain. So it just keeps, $150,000 in that account, because nothing in that world is inexpensive. So-
Sure.
So that's the purpose of that.
So what was your certified amount for the enterprise account?
It was 4.2 million,
4.2. Okay.
bearing in mind that the treatment plant upgrade project, the final inspection for that is tomorrow, hopefully, and it's a year and a half late. So the debt service for that $30 million hasn't started, it's just been being funded by the state, but so it's just rolling it over and paying the fees until the final project is done, and then they convert the loan to a loan, so. We have about 1.8 million a year in debt service. That we
Okay.
need to start.
Tim sent out a memo on that
I didn't see that.
for their certification for sewer and our
And free cash.
free cash. Free cash came in at 1.9.
1.9 over there.
I paid attention to the free cash, but not the enterprise. Okay, got it.
And the 100,000 for that article is correct.
Yes.
Okay, so what is this 100,000 for?
Which, one- you want still on 27?
27,
Yes.
yeah.
So 20, it's just, if we need, a pickup truck, we're gonna replace next year, and then if anything else happens.
Okay,
So basically, you maintain an account and you spend from it, and then you replenish it at the end of the
As-
year.
If the need be, if we don't spend any in that account next year, we won't
Right.
go after.
And you said that you normally try to keep the account at 150?
150 to 200,000,
Okay,
just because you can't, it's the kind of operation, you can't wait for a town meeting to authorize the spending of money.
Yep,
It has to
got
be
it.
spent
Right.
at the discretion of the board, so that's
Right.
why it's there.
okay. Let's go to 28.
So 28 is, we set up account probably, they set up an account probably 15 years ago for treatment plant upgrades and expansions. It's largely still doing the Worcester Street, Arcadia Street Pump Station project, and we didn't finance the construction oversight for that project with CDM. We're financing it out of retained earnings. So about 150,000 of that will move to pay that debt for the next, not even a debt, those costs for the next year, which will complete that project, and close it out. And also if there, with the final inspection of the treatment plant tomorrow, if there are any issues going forward with that, while we've been running it for a year and a half and there hasn't been any major issues, you just never know. So that's a cushion for that, and we first started designing the treatment plant in 2000, we got the permit in 2000, the draft in 12, the permit went into effect in 13. We chose a technology to thicken our sludge based on the sludge we had at the time. And there's a different technology available that as the treatment process has changed with the upgrades, the sludge consistency or constituency has changed. So there's a better product for us to thicken the sludge, which doesn't sound like a very exciting thing, but in our world, it's, you know, if you can dry it out even 1% or 0.1%, it saves us a ton of money. For example, our build up a Blackstone for 4.2% solid sludges, say $22,000 a month. If we can get that to 4.3, it drops to about 12.
Wow.
So it's, right now, we're running about 4.4, which is good, so we're paying a lower rate. But it's, we can half our samples a month of 3.8, 3.9, so it's too close to the edge.
Yep.
And if you 1 or 2 months a year below that, you're spending 20 grand extra, and then the extra trucking. So we're doing some, research now, and we'll probably do a pilot study on changing a polymer system to thicken that sludge, so we get to 4.8, 5%, so we have a big cushion, and so that's what that money will be used for. And again, if we don't choose to do anything, it just stays in that account,
Sure.
doesn't go anywhere, it just sits there, so.
Okay. And if you needed to, could you move that back? Because it seems like that account's specific to the treatment.
Yeah, I could go back, again, like I was saying, when we were discussing these articles, the other thing that because the plant was the original 1970s technology, all the modern technology we have now. For example, we just, upgraded the firewall, which was like 20 grand for the whole system is done off of a computer, so there's a lot of other costs that we didn't have before, so it's just trying to figure all those things out. But yeah, it can be moved to any account within the sewer department. If we close that account out in 2 years, when everything is 100%, we know everything's functioning as expected, it'll just go back to the sewer department retained earnings line, really.
Got it.
So.
Okay. All right. Any questions on that? All right. 29?
So 29 is inflow and infiltration. As part of that discharge permit, you have to do a collection system operation and maintenance plan, which we did in 2017, and part of that plan, the idea of that plan is to find leaks in the system. And because obviously clean water, we don't want to treat. As soon as a drop of clean water touches dirty water, it's dirty. So if we can remove that clean water, it saves all of us money and costs. So our agreement with the DEP when we did that plan was that if there was funds available in retained earnings, we would fund $100,000 a year, up to $500,000, and then contract out to either reline or excavate some of the bigger leaks that we have in the system. Most of our leaks are small, so it's difficult. There's not one giant leak to fix. It's a bunch of little ones. So as we close circuit camera TV the lines, CCTV the lines, we do a couple miles a year, and as we identify leaks, we just have a spreadsheet going with those leaks listed on it, and when we have enough to reline a whole section, that's what we'll do.
So how do you find the leaks? I mean, just,
We did flow isolation through the
Yeah.
whole system. We put 12 flow monitors in different
Okay.
sections of town, isolating certain areas. And you subtract this from that. There's this many houses. You should only expect this flow. You do the nighttime flows, and there should be zero, close to zero. And you
Right.
say, all right, you're still getting 100,000 gallons from this area. So then we'd camera that line and try
Okay.
to find the leak.
okay.
So,
So you said you're gonna do 100,000 up to 500. What's sitting there right now?
that would bring that to about 200 to 200,000, I think, because we did 100,000 last year.
Okay.
Got it. So this is work you'd plan on doing this year, or?
So we'll fund that again, so that'll bring that account to 2. Next year, we'll do another 100, and then so in like the 5th year, we'd be at that $500,000 mark.
Got
And
it.
then we'd pick an area to contract out, to reline or
Okay.
really fix.
All right, makes sense. Any other questions on that?
It's very exciting.
Well, hey, it's necessary.
It certainly is.
Great, thanks.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Rich is coming? Did he say he
Yes.
was coming?
Yes.
Okay. You may get on early.
Excuse me,
I learned more about sewer than I wanted to know.
Oh, I know. It is fascinating.
Well, remember Sue, when we used to have them come in on Saturdays? And Sue always booked them right
Right after lunch.
before lunch. Usually it was before lunch.
Before lunch, Heather.
And we're going,
Fires out.
No.
Talking about sludge,
talk about sludge and sludge removal. and-
waste, and all.
The fun part is when you take, like, we would take the Cub Scouts, you know, to the treatment plant. Of course, the kids get such a kick out of the whole thing. Oh, yeah. That's always fun.
I'm
I find
sure
it
they-
fascinating that that's actually a town service. It just seems weird that
It's a big
we
operation.
take care of
It is,
like
that
water
building is
treatment as a town.
It's a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
operation.
Well,
It's amazing.
If you think about it, as, you know, population has grown, you almost need to. Can you imagine if everyone was trying to do it in their backyards?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Hey, I have a septic system. I'll never see.
Just seem like, the you know, the skill
Where we
set.
live, we're all in septic units. We'll never see.
Parents do, they design septic systems. So it's a lot of.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that?
And well,
So, Mr. Chair, if you want to take these folks out of order, we could do that. Since, the cell tower isn't until 7:30.
Sure,
all right,
Yeah,
If you'd
might as
like.
well.
do it.
all right, guys.
Come on up.
You need more chairs? Bring more chairs with you.
We can pull up whatever chairs we need.
Yes.
So which one's this?
This is, nope, this is the additional funding for the DPW building.
Ah, okay.
Oh, you know what we need to do? We need
Yeah, sure.
everybody to sign in.
That's Article 12.
So Sue, I sent you a very late email
Oh,
asking if we could have in the packet the email attachment that Tim sent from the state.
I did not see it.
All right, then I'll
Or-
just tell the committee. I did copy you, by the way, right after he sent that to me. It was, I don't know, a week or two ago. That's all right. So,
Well, we can discuss it later.
yeah,
That's okay.
well, it's relevant to this.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it's relevant.
It was a copy of,
Do you want me to go downstairs and I'll just print it and go downstairs?
you
and
mean
grab it?
how it's going to be paid?
So
Funded?
this was a confirmation from the state
Yes,
to Tim.
Andy got that.
Okay, so maybe you guys can.
Andy will address that. The confirmation from DOR. So,
All right, so you guys want to
John, you're
introduce
gonna start.
yourselves?
I think we were here, my name's John Bouchard, I'm the chair of the DPW Facility Building Committee. We were here to answer questions, that you might have on, on the warrant article and, on the, project overall. And, I don't have any, other than an opening statement of thank you, we're here, love to answer any questions we can for you, and
you just want to give us a quick update of where we are with the building, so they kind of have an idea of where we're at. If Andy wants to do that.
Sure, I can do that.
yeah.
So we are, the main part of the building, the structural steel is all up. The roof is about 30, it's about a third done. The main building also, about half of the floor slab has been poured. Roof insulation's going in, metal roof is going on. In the administrative and vehicle maintenance side of the building, slab has been entirely poured, steel is only 25%. But in the next couple of weeks, I think all the steel will be in place, roof will be completed in the larger part of the building, and most of the interior and exterior partitions will have been built. So we're still looking at a February completion date. The majority of the site work is in really good shape. We're planning on being able to loam and seed next week. So we'll get a little bit of growing time before we close out of the season. The larger retention pond on the south end is just awaiting loam and seed, and the north end, the smaller pond is mostly constructed as of today. So we're in pretty good shape. All the underground site utilities are basically in place. All the site drainage and all those structures are all in place as well. So,
Nice.
And
All
so
right.
they can give you an update as to how we got here. Do you want to talk about
Article 12.
yeah. Why we're here for Article
why are we
12?
here?
I get to do this part?
You get the history piece, John.
Yeah, I get the history.
We need you to go
I don't
on
even
the
wanna
lunch
tell you
breaks.
how long I've been involved with this, so,
Forever.
seems like
Really,
forever.
20 years, right?
Almost 20, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to start with the dinosaurs.
Yeah, no, I won't. In general, you know, we went to town meeting for, you know, for approval for money for the full building. And when we received approval, we began the design with the engineering consultant. And we had a, you know, a budget that we were working towards. As we were getting into the final design and the permitting phase with the Conservation Commission and finishing up the design pieces, some cost indices had increased, so we were concerned about the overall budget. And we, you know, but other projects that we were with, that the consultant that we were working with was working on statewide, and Bourne and Weston and Charlton and a few others. You know, they were getting favorable pricing at that time. So what we looked at was to put the project together with a base bid or a base project, and then have alternates. The way state bidding, state open bidding laws, you can do a public bid project for public works and add alternates to the project in a specific order, you know, for value. And you would get the base bid of the project, which was independent and could function. And then you have alternates that would, you know, that you would be able to take generally in order of the alternate. We alternated, you know, we had 5 different alternates. Alternate 1 was to increase the size of the building to what we were recommending for the overall size for the community. Alternate 2 was the salt shed. Alternate 3 was a canopy section, the equipment. Alternate 4 was, you know, a canopy section for an overhang off the building, so we could store other equipment in that area. And basically what it is we get a base bid for the project, and then if the bidding, the contractor gives you costs or bids for the alternates as well. And then you're able to select them and go to the state and certify that this is the project. So when we received the base bid, which was within the budget, there were alternates for the full size of the building. And then the salt shed were our 1 and 2 alternates. We went back to the selectmen. The bids were what they were. We felt that the full size of the building was gonna cost us more in 5 to 10 years to expand on the buildings, because we're gonna put foundations in to allow that expansion. We went back to the board at that time, got the recommendation to go forward with the increased size of the DPW, and then use the alternate 2, which was for the salt shed, which we were able to use either stabilization or Chapter 90 funds, which we get from the state. And that's how the project went forward. We had a contingency at that time when we you know, did that piece of it, and then the project, you know, went into, you know, we awarded it with those 2 with the alternate, and then went forward into construction. We had a contingency for, you know, I mean, one of the biggest things on a construction project of public works, et cetera, is, you know, once you get out of the ground is when you get rid of all your risk. So until, you know, you dig your foundations and you do your well and you do, you know, your excavation for your detention ponds and your rough grading, et cetera, that's where the risk is in any public works project. So as we got in, you know, and then we had obviously the salt shed as well as the main storage building that were a part of it. So as we got into the specifics on the project, we ended up encountering ledge in sections under the building. And, you know, when people, you know, think that, you know, you hit rock and say, well, there's rock throughout this entire town. You can see it everywhere you go on the Mass Pike, et cetera. But the rock is indications that we had from the borings that were taken prior to, you know, as part of the design, you know, rock kind of varies under the surface. It's not just, you know, nice and level and say, oh, we hit it here at 6 inches, we hit it here at 2 feet, we hit it over here at 14 feet. So the rock under the ground is kind of, you know, up and down. And so we had an estimate for what amount of rock based on that preliminary information we were gonna need to excavate to build the building. And once we get in and started doing the excavation and the project, we encountered rock and a little bit and higher, you know, there was a little bit of a knoll underneath where the building was, so we had to remove that, and it ended up being about 3,400 cubic yards of rock additional than what we had estimated. And, but, you know, it's, whether we had estimated as part of the project or we didn't, it was in the area where the building was proposed. We had to stay away from the wetlands on the site. The building footprint was where it was. We had limited opportunity to move things around. That rock, whether we encountered it during design or during construction, had to come out. So it had to come out, they had to put in new material to build up the site, to put the building on. But that ended up eating up a major piece of our contingency, you know, about $400,000.
Actually, ate up more than what we had in contingency. We had about $380-something thousand
Are you doing this or am I?
Oh, I'm happy to lean in, you know? I wanna make sure we get our.
No, no,
Of all the
no,
people, we
it's
gotta
just-
get our numbers right, right?
No, I appreciate it.
Well, just the point is that the amount that we hit on for ledge, that we had to spend on ledge was more than our contingency, so the team went back and did a bunch of cost cutting on the project to try and find other places to try and pull some money out, so that we could both recoup, get above positive for what we had for contingency. We weren't done with the project yet, we still weren't out of the ground yet, so we still needed to have some contingency. So we went in, the team collectively went in to try and do some cost cutting and to recoup some way to move forward with contingency.
Anything else you want to add to that? I mean, we hit other, I mean, again, until you get out from underground, there's some unknowns, there's some risk. Putting the well in took additional funds. We didn't, the first well that we drilled didn't yield us the water we needed, so we had to do a second well, then we had to do a fracking test. You know, there's just, it's, again, you know, go back to until we got out of the underground, we had some risk with the project. So that kind of, you know, some of those things chewed up the contingencies that we had, and more than the contingency that we had. We did go back to the board and said, here's what we've encountered, here's what we'd recommend, and received the vote of the select board. You know, move forward in this direction, that direction, gave them the options. And, you know, as we start getting into, you know, more significant construction, and we're getting the salt shed in and doing other pieces to the work, town administrator came to us and said, hey, the gas pumps over at the police station, you know, those really gotta come out by such and such a time. Can we incorporate that in the project now? Now, we had the designer incorporate the future system, you know, the pumping system within the project, so that was in there. But the actual, you know, all the guts for it wasn't there, because it was gonna be a cost in the future when we were gonna do that work. And it was really because we knew we had exceeded our contingency, we're gonna need to come back to either go to town meeting, go to the select board for money. It's like, well, we should look at all of the pieces to make sure that we're getting all the costs identified before we go to town meeting for any more money. So the pump for the gas, from the police station up to the DPW was an additional cost that wasn't in the project.
So do I understand correctly that that is like a regulatory issue with the current tank? That it has a useful life of 20 years or whatever it is?
Paul probably can answer that better.
It's sort of like a propane tank where you just have to get rid of it
Yes.
after a period of time?
It's a single wall steel tank that had you know, whatever expected useful life was 20 or 25 years, I don't recall the exact number. But as John said, this project, when it started 20 years ago, there was plenty of life left on that tank, so there were
Sure.
provisions in the plan to eventually move it up there. But because it took so long to get to this point, that time is here at the end of 2020.
So do you guys know if that tank is inspected regularly?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, we're required to inspect it.
Yeah, you know, we followed all the, it's not leaking. It's just.
Sure, no, I get it. My propane tank, when it turns 10 years old, magically isn't
Yeah.
any
No,
good
it's no
anymore.
good anymore.
It still works fine,
The thing
but
is, we don't, you know, now's the time to do it. You know, as Bob has said to me 1,000 times, it's like it's cheaper to do everything right now. You know, if we know we're gonna have to bring it up there in 3 to 5 years, no matter what, even if we could ask DEP to extend that life of that tank, based on testing we might do it with. It's, you know, it's kicking the can, and it's gonna cost a lot more to do it later.
Yeah, it's gonna cost more to do it later, so even if we were to, you know, make the decision, or at least recommend that we have the provisions in the project, in the DPW project, to have a plug-in system, there's still work that needs to be done underground, you know, as part of putting in the gas tank at the DPW. That's gonna cost us more later, so it is less to do it now. You know, the town administrator said we should do it now if we can. If we're gonna go to town meeting, we should bring this to there. Now, one thing, you know, that Paul hasn't mentioned is that the DPW really doesn't use this
Yes,
much
yeah,
gas.
yes, it's the
We
least
use the
used
diesel,
system.
so we
Right.
put in a full diesel system for the DPW, all the trucks. Now, the gas that's used at the police station for other town vehicles is not necessarily, you know, needed by the DPW, a very, very small percentage. So, again, it's kind of like, well, we have to do this, it's not an option. We could kick it down the road, but then it's just gonna cost us more later. If we're gonna have to go to town meeting, we should at least discuss what our options are and make the decision to do it now, or, you know, see where things go.
Sure. I just gotta say, I'm surprised that that wasn't on the capital plan anywhere, because if we knew that that useful life was approaching,
up.
it sounds like that wasn't a surprise, that people knew about it. I just don't love the idea that we're lumping that in now, going back to town meeting for something that really isn't needed. I get why we would do
No,
it. It
understood.
makes perfect sense to me.
I personally don't like it because I feel like it's something that we missed, even though it was,
It-
as Paul just described it, you know, we started on this many, many years ago, and then as time goes on and you finally get approval at town meeting, you go and overall, you start designing, you say, geez, we kind of chewed up all the life that was left in that, and we were smart enough to incorporate the design in the
To plug
project,
it in,
but not
right.
put all the, you know, the tank and the pumping system and everything that, you know, because things can change when, you know, you get into newer technologies and stuff, so.
Sure.
So it's a short sight on our part, in hindsight, I guess, but still.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
It's also the last underground storage tank town owns. They've been removed from this building, all the schools, fire stations. The 6 went out at the wastewater treatment plant, so they're all this, that's the final one. And God forbid it does leak. Because if it, you know, if it lasted one extra day and then it sprung a leak, it's gonna cost us a lot more money to chase that leak down.
For remediation, sure. Yeah, no, I get it. I get why we would do it. It's just, I guess I'm just a little bothered that it wasn't on a plan somewhere and that it couldn't, you know, it couldn't have been approved at town meeting as a part of the original scope of the project.
Mhm.
And I guess the other thing that I'm interested in is, so you guys went forward with a 3% contingency on this project.
Well, we went forward with, let's say that the project was this size, this cost, and then we scaled back some of those costs to give us a better contingency, and then put those in as ad alternates. You know, so that way, once the bids came in, if they came in favorable, we make the decision and go to the board. This is where we're at, this is what the cost is, et cetera, et cetera. And it was, as I said, over the time that we went to town meeting, got approval, then began the design piece of it, and the time to go through that, costs were going up, and the contingency that we had as part of the original, you know, we think this is what it's gonna be, once we put all the pieces to it and put costs of the individual, it ended up being, this was the amount, you know, subtracted out and ended up being, what's remaining was about a 3+ % contingency in the overall budget.
Got it, okay. That helps clarify things a lot. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about the article, I guess, and the $1 million. So maybe some. Yeah,
Couple
go ahead.
questions. So, first of all, sorry for being late. I just came back from a vacation, landed in Providence less than 2 hours ago, so I got it as quick as I could.
You know, you get points for that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks. So, I just had a question with the gas tank. I understand that it'll cost a lot more to do it later. Do you have like a ballpark idea of how much more? Just so town meeting can have, you know,
There's
more
other
precise idea.
considerations, I think, beyond just the cost, but it also would be the disruption to the site of when we
Okay.
eventually move into there. So there's some costs about that in the moving project. So, you know, think about this as there's a liability to town for compliance and to, you know, and what the cost would be if we did it later. I don't know, I haven't heard of any estimates of what it would cost to do
Well, we're
it
still
later.
using 3% a year for
3% a
escalation,
year,
so
right.
if you do it in 5 years, you do the math, so automatically it's gonna cost you more for exactly the same product
Okay.
that we would get today.
Plus, right now, the controller that gets put in with that is one controller for diesel and gas. So if we just put in diesel now, we get a controller that just does that, and when we add gas, we have to add another one, that's about $18,000.
Okay. And then, did anyone talk about the D2 approval status yet? I don't want to bring things back up. If I missed it, I can just watch it later, but,
Nope, we haven't gone there yet.
okay.
Coming up.
Okay, cool.
So why don't you guys, that was what I was gonna ask about, so why don't we just cover that?
Okay. Did you share the letter?
No, I didn't receive it. You read it to me, but I
Oh.
didn't get it that evening. But it was,
So
You
Tim
received it.
did send it to me.
Okay.
It did not get distributed to the committee. I apologize for that.
but you could read it.
Sure, if you'd like. Dear Mr. McInerney, the Bureau has reviewed the D2 application submitted by the town of Grafton regarding a determination of borrowing covered by debt exclusion for the Grafton DPW facility building project. I find pursuant to our guideline and your supporting documentation regarding factors in this matter, that an additional intended borrowing authorization of $1 million is covered by the exclusion vote taken. Please be advised that no additional amount for new funds will be covered by that particular exclusion, even if de minimis. The total amount authorized by the debt exclusion vote taken, including authorization pursuant to this letter for the Grafton DPW facility building project, cannot exceed $13,700,000.
Which is the 12.7 plus the million.
Right.
Yep. So they're saying fine, but not to exceed.
They've capped it.
And there was I was in the room when Tim had a discussion with them prior to their approval, just about, again, the same breakdown that you guys have received, $500,000 for equipment, 170 for paving, 220 for the fuel tank. They understood all the math in there and even the difference between what that added up to and $1 million. They understood that 110, I think it was 110, is again sort of contingency above and beyond what the little bit that we have right now, just to make sure that we're covered.
So you're adding 110 to a small amount of contingency to last you the rest of the project. You're out of the ground for the foundations and that. Is there any
It's 10%.
risk of when we go to dig a hole for the tank?
Already, no, that's already, the tanks are above ground now.
Oh, they're above ground. Got
Everything
it.
that's going
Okay.
to be below ground is below ground right
All
now.
right.
So, and we did just have, the fire protection system has a 73-foot long by, I don't know how big it is around, tank that went in the ground last week. Huge, it's the size of a house. But, yeah, no, there's nothing else below ground that we need to deal with.
Got it, okay.
But if I could, Andy, add to that, we still haven't got final pricing on the equipment, even though we have a number in there of, what, 500 plus or
Yep.
minus? We still haven't bid that out, so there could be a change there. Remember, those prices were a year ago, too, so something may have happened there. So it's just that last little piece I think we need, just to make sure we finish the project.
Right.
Sure.
We
finish
do
it
have,
properly.
we do have pricing on the gas system.
Good.
Okay. Any other discussion? Dan?
That answers everything I had.
You just may want to just share with them why we need to put the equipment in now and not later, because it's going to cost us a whole lot more. I don't know how much more later,
Well,
but,
DPW is not a functioning DPW without.
Well,
the
that's
equipment.
true, it's not functioning.
It's not a question of doing it later, it's
Yeah.
just, it's not a functioning.
well, if we don't get it, we'd have to do it later, and it's not going to function.
Right, and it's just, as John said, it's just, at that point, it's a garage. You know, I always attribute, people look at the DPW and say, oh, it's just the DPW. But, if there's a storm, any kind of natural disaster, your police department, your fire departments don't move if the roads are blocked, if the snow doesn't get removed, if there's trees down. It's a critical component of the town. And the now service is not, 25 years ago when this thing first started, well, 20 years ago, they didn't work on they only worked on DPW equipment. Now the mechanics are in charge of the entire police fleet, the smaller fire vehicles, the routine maintenance for even the larger fire trucks, all the parks and cemetery, school department vehicles, sewer department vehicles, so taking on a much bigger role in all that, making signs for the whole town now instead of just small street signs. So it's just, as the town's expanded, the role and responsibilities have expanded, but with the same 10 people. The staff hasn't changed, it's just trying to work more efficiently, and in order to do that, we need that equipment. It's just, it's not, sending a police cruiser to Imperial to have a tire balance for $200 when we can do, yeah, it's gonna, the initial cost is more, but it'll more than pay for itself in time. Staff to drive it there, pick it up, and there's the cost, so.
Got it.
And I did give them a list of all the equipment and the functions, so they understand that.
It's about time you guys got a little more room to operate.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
That's it.
That's it, all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Come and see it.
I can't wait. It's actually diagonally across from my house.
Yeah,
Very
So I hope they start plowing as soon as they get out on the street.
That's right, you're gonna have the cleanest road in town.
That's
I was gonna say, that doesn't guarantee you.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, have a good night.
You too.
February opening, so.
Cell tower meeting's
I don't know.
supposed
He
to
was
be here at
scheduled for
7:30.
7:30. He's probably not coming then.
So who was supposed to come?
Rich Whitney.
Nobody downstairs. I'm just double checking my messages.
Is he downstairs? No, that meeting's over. Didn't you
Yeah.
say, Colleen?
And
Yeah, it
also,
was just about over when I left, so.
this is on the cell tower, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that whole thing became moot.
No.
Someone had said that it was being passed over, but I have no idea.
It's like, what was taken to the planning board has nothing to do with this warrant
Ah,
article.
okay, gotcha.
And he withdrew his special permit request from the planning board, so that's moot.
Okay.
This is landlocked land that Tim wants to,
Wouldn't Tim be the one talking about it?
yes,
So that's probably tomorrow night.
I hope so. There's a lot of things he has to talk about tomorrow night,
Okay.
so.
So the first 4 articles we're waiting on. We have voted on 5 through 11.
Okay, so hold on just for a second, so,
Did we vote on 5?
We didn't vote on.
Oh,
the-
we didn't assign.
I have a recommendation here. I'm assuming we voted on it.
Where are we? 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Yep, 5 through 11 we did.
Yep, 5 through 11.
So
We're on
5,
5, we're on 12.
6,
Yep.
7.
So does anybody need any additional information on 12 before we take a vote? Going once?
Give me a minute, I gotta look at it and see what it is. That's the one we just talked
That's the one
about.
we just talked about.
Okay, so the question is, when do we make the decision whether it's going to be taxation, transfer, or borrowing?
At town meeting. The motion will say it'll be debt excluded, and they'll add $1 billion. I sent out that memo,
Okay,
and I don't think I have it.
The one that you gave
Stating
me
the
last night?
options.
okay, so right now, the warrant's going to read that we simply want to increase the amount from 12.7 to 13.7.
Yes.
Okay,
But the way it's going to be put in the motion is going to read however DOR wants us to do that.
So,
So
so wouldn't we need to?
we should wait for Tim.
Yeah, we need to approve or recommend or oppose whatever the actual motion is, right? I mean,
The motion will be asking for $1 million more, debt excluded, which will raise it 13.7, which we meet the requirement, obviously, for DOR, but other than that, I don't know how the motion is going to read. And he's going to explain all of, because the library came in at a lower bid, and because we're going up $1 million, we're not taking any money from the library, but it's kind of like a wash, because they went down, we're going up, so taxes won't be going up.
Right. As I understand it, we're asking the town, in town meeting, to borrow more for this project.
Yes.
but they came in $1.8 million low in terms of their bids.
The library, but that has nothing to
So
do
we're
with
just
this
gonna,
work.
right, but the reality, like, practically, from a budget standpoint, we're gonna borrow less for the library. So it's,
Oh, yeah,
it's a wash,
1.8 less.
right?
We hope.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
then you'll have building, then you'll have capacity to borrow more.
Yeah, and we do have,
But right now,
right,
it's
and
gonna
we
be a
have a
wash and no
10%,
taxes
the
will be
library has a
raised.
10% contingency
Right.
built in.
Oh, smart.
So Tim will probably address more of the financial angle of all of that, because we're allowed 10% capacity to go on our debt exclusion, and we made 8% of that, so. But we can't exceed that million,
Got it. Okay, so we wanna hear from Tim on that.
Yes.
All right, fine.
because the motion is the critical part of that, so I don't know how it's going to be written,
All right,
so.
understood. Okay.
But I'll write the warrant article if you want me to write the recommendation.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so we have, Tim will come in and talk about,
Did we vote on 13? Yeah.
Yes.
did vote on it.
Stabilization.
So at the very top of your cheat sheet here, your worksheet, you have what we voted on and what we've received for recommendations to date.
So we just need to assign some articles to people, even though Tim hasn't talked about it
So
yet.
which cheat sheet were you talking about?
It's a
This
worksheet
one
on
over
top.
there. The one that you just got.
Ah,
with-
okay.
This one.
No, the one in
Irene.
your hand.
You just
In your
gotta
right,
flip it over.
your left
Flip it
hand.
over. Your left hand, you're the left hand.
Front page.
Duh. Oh,
She's
God.
tired, she's got a cold.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
All right,
not
so
with it tonight.
Talked about
Okay.
12, so 13 we voted on.
Yep.
Um,
14 and 15, we were waiting on planning board. Did they meet last, right? Planning board?
That's not planning.
Oh, no,
board.
that's Tim. We need Tim.
Yep.
We need Tim for
16 and
those.
17, we need Tim.
Oh, you know, when, what's his name was here, we could have asked him about the tree removal, because the DPW does that, but I didn't think of that when Paul was here.
Asked
He could
about
probably
what's in-
address that,
14.
Okay.
yeah, but I didn't, we didn't think of that.
So 18, 19, we're waiting on Tim as well.
Mhm.
16, 17, 18.
Yep. And we voted on 20,
19.
21.
We could have asked Paul about the Adams Road drainage too, but didn't think about that.
Waiting on Tim for 25. Well, the board of health. Tim, I guess, is 26. So we can do 27,
We
or we
can
can
do-
do 27, 28, and 29.
Yep,
Yep.
all right.
I move that we recommend passage of Article 27 in the amount of $100,000.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I move that we recommend passage of Article 28 in the amount of $400,000.
Okay, second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move that we recommend passage of Article 29 in the amount of $100,000.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, and then we need Tim for 30.
So were these articles on last year too?
Yes,
They were.
And so these are the recommendations that you had written?
I looked them up today, and there
I
is,
think Barry wrote some of them, did he not? So we
Yes.
could probably use those.
yes,
Yes.
Because I think it's more than housekeeping.
it is.
more than housekeeping.
It is.
But I think we could just use Barry's recommendation he wrote last year, because it's the same thing. And I have no idea
I
what
did pull
Article
them up
30 is.
today and take a look at them. Mhm.
Yeah, we're, that I don't understand.
So that's for the sewer ones? Are we
No,
saying?
I'm saying I don't understand the last one, the,
Oh, various
yeah,
stabilization?
yeah,
That's a little vague.
a little vague.
Mhm. Okay, so do we have previous ones for the sewer ones?
Yeah,
that we can
from
use?
Barry from last year.
We do, but they're not written out right now. Yes, we do. The recommendations,
Yep,
yes. So if you would like to sign them to me, that'll be fine.
okay.
Because basically, they're the same articles that we
Yes,
had last
they are.
time.
We had the same ones as last year.
Mhm.
Right, absolutely. Yeah,
So
so I,
Barry wrote them, and it was a pretty good way he had written them, so. it
Yes,
was
he
more detailed.
included that it wasn't taxpayer money, that it came from sewer enterprise, and he also went into the leaks and
Went into a little bit more
the
detail.
infiltration article. So it's all right there. I just didn't know if it counted or not. I wanted to hear what they had to say before I wrote it, but I can simply copy and paste it for.
Yep, perfect.
okay,
So
let's
I'll
just
do-
go that direction.
Yeah.
We'll review them and vote on them, so I'm happy with
Mhm.
that. Okay. Let's see, what else? Do we have anything else tonight?
Wow.
Great shape.
Article 1, they're raising the assistant clerk's position to 40,000 more.
Yeah, remember she
I
said it
didn't
last
know-
night?
Yeah, I know, I didn't notice the number, though.
That's a big number.
What did we put in the budget? Do you remember?
Even if we put like 30,000, that's a lot of money.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
I
for
might
an
have to apply
assistant.
for that.
No kidding.
What
What
the
are
heck?
you
What does
referring-
she get?
What are you referring to?
Raise and
Yes.
appropriate. Oh, wait, no, that's her salary. They put nothing in, remember?
It was 0, it had been 0.
They didn't put anything in.
I thought we did,
No, remember they didn't.
No.
and we took it
They
out.
took it out. That's why. That's not, can you imagine if that was, what that would be?
Well, we'd all apply for that. And then go get certified and get $1,000 more.
Oh,
Jeez. And I know health insurance, after watching the video on, that went up 75,000.
So
Okay.
should we continue the public hearing and then
So
do whatever else we need?
before we do that, I just want to talk about Articles 6, 7, and 8, which are the CPC ones.
Yep.
There's been some discussion about them potentially revisiting those.
Again?
Well, yeah, with the correct numbers. So they might send us a memo after kind of talking with the administration. And
What,
You
they
mean
think
53,000 isn't
it's not
correct?
right?
it's not clear what the number's going to be, I think.
Oh, because it has to be a percentage, right?
No,
Did you
their warrant articles weren't correct, and so they might update them. So,
They
just
did last night. The 53,957
Right, is it the
is the
same
correct number they gave
Versus
us
the
last night.
52,009.
right. So
So are they saying the 53 is not correct?
I don't think they know.
Oh,
Did they send you a memo?
They did not, but we're, I think, expecting a memo, Sue?
yes.
Or they're going to stop by
They're
tomorrow.
meeting tomorrow night, and either they're going to stop in after their meeting, or they're going to send us a memo with the number that is correct.
so we might have to revisit these,
They're
reconsider
going
these.
to revisit, there's confusion on the numbers,
Yeah.
as usual.
As usual.
And because it's an estimate, anyway, they always can come back
Right, in May.
in May, as they always do.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I thought they were emphatic last night
Yeah,
that they
because
had
they-
the right numbers.
Yep. but,
So what happened?
uh,
Did they say?
Everybody's unclear.
What?
Public
Somebody's
TV.
Excel spreadsheet didn't work.
How does that work since we already voted on it?
So we would,
It can
we
be
would make a
reconsidered.
motion to reconsider,
If needed.
and we would change our vote potentially, or we would re-vote,
And put in the correct number.
and put in the correct number if that's what we.
We have to do that with 8,
Yeah.
9.
Yep.
Yep, true.
Yes, with 4 of them, because there's the 3.
Just
They
6,
can't
7,
get
and
their
8.
act together.
And 9, because 9 is the big one.
This is the
Yeah.
big number. So they have to,
Yeah, 9 is
that
the big
number,
one.
if the other numbers aren't correct, that number's not correct.
Right, nine's
7,
the,
8, and 9.
Correct.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I feel like there was an Excel spreadsheet error.
6, 7,
They're
8,
every
9.
year.
Four.
It's like
6,
every
7,
year.
8, 9.
Whatever. I'm fine,
All right.
as long as they can get it to us.
That's right.
You can reconsider on, like, we can reconsider before town meeting.
right, yeah, yeah.
I'm just letting her, I don't know
Yeah,
if she
yeah.
knows the.
Well, I'm hoping they
Yeah,
bring it
so
back
it's not
to
a
us.
big deal, it's just that's something we may have to deal with on Thursday. The other thing is, yeah, so that's fine, so I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to tomorrow.
So moved.
So moved. Oh, second.
The motion's been moved Made
You
and
did.
seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. I think that's what we had. So I will encourage everyone to look at the run book that Sue put together. We're going to talk about that on Monday.
Okay.
So
that's this.
The manual.
Mr.
Yep, the
Chairman,
manual.
have we assigned all of the articles to everybody yet?
That's this.
Can we do that before we move on?
Sure.
So Sue's done articles 1, 2, 3, and 4. No, not 1.
I haven't done, those are just formats and the way we
Oh, okay.
did it. Because I do not have any numbers yet.
Okay.
So really, technically, whatever we receive tomorrow, and I'm hoping it's going to be in motion form from Tim and/or Becca, we can just simply copy and paste the information, technically. So I don't know what the numbers are going to be to adjust the FY20 operating budget right now, but I'll be happy to write it if you'd like me to write it.
So these amounts in Article 1 are not correct then?
No, they're just an example of, that we wrote last
So we didn't
October.
get any numbers at all?
We have no numbers.
See, this is 40,000 that was put in the
Yes.
budget, so.
I pulled up the budget and it was added in October
So we don't.
last year.
Yes, so we
So that's-
don't
yeah,
know,
so
but
just to know
he's
now.
adding additional money, though. That's what
That must be what it
Candy
is.
said last night, because they couldn't find anybody.
Couldn't find anybody.
Oh, yeah.
So we're all gonna apply for that job, because it looks like it's getting to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So who wants to write Article 1?
I won't be here tomorrow, so unfortunately I can't do.
Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow.
You wanna do Article 1?
Sure.
It's basically just this, but
Well, you won't be
Yeah.
able to write it until after we
Until after
receive the
tomorrow.
numbers on
Yeah,
Thursday
yeah,
night.
we'll be getting you stuff on Sunday, so.
So we need to get this, by the end of this weekend, we need to get all the ideally, right?
Yes, I
we want
Yep.
to final,
Uh,
for final on Monday, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so instead of receiving it on Monday night, it would be really great if everything is received so you can look at the document
Right.
and approve it so it can go to print.
Yep.
That's kind of what the key is. Otherwise, and it's okay, then it goes from Tuesday to print to Wednesday or Thursday to print, depending on.
Right.
Okay.
And then posting is Friday.
Right.
Friday and
Yeah, so
Saturday.
let's just get it done Monday.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take Article 2.
All right.
Yes, I'm taking 1. Susan, you're
Yep.
taking 2.
I'm taking 2. Fire Department Article 3 is basically
That's the same.
our routine thing that we do every year, right?
It is.
Yeah, so I'll take 3 and 4.
You want one?
3 and 4.
Just in case the numbers change.
Who took Article 5?
We did that.
5's done.
Did somebody take Article
We,
5?
we just,
It's
I don't
done.
think we said it last night.
Yeah. It's on here. Finance
did it
Committee
from last
recommends
year.
passage of Article 5 as
Oh.
written. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, she did what she used last year.
Colleen, you want to take Article 5?
Do you want more to it?
Yes. Good girl.
All right. So we got 6, 7, 8, 9 covered.
Yep, looks like it.
We got 10 and 11
11
covered.
of Barry. Who's got 12? Sue, you
Sarah
got
got
12.
12.
Sue's got 12.
13 is covered.
13 covered. All right, yep.
That's our routine thing, so Sue's got that. We have a lot of trees that need to come down. I wonder how much money they're gonna put into this.
Should we give that to Mark?
Give that to who?
Mark.
Mark?
Is he coming tomorrow?
He is coming tomorrow.
Okay, we'll give it to Mark. I don't know anything about this roadway. They did accept the roadway, by the way,
It's
last
pretty
night.
routine and it's,
Yep.
Where is it?
number 15.
I don't know where it is.
In town, where's
Oh,
it?
by my
excuse me.
It's right
I
off
saw-
Elmwood Street.
Yeah, I would say just use
It's
what
right
you
off
wrote.
Elmwood Street. I really don't know any streets, but I know where this one is.
There are so many new streets in this town that I don't even feel like I know my town anymore. I know that last night they voted to accept the
So that's then
road,
then we
so
can use
Sue
what's
can do
there.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's done.
All right. Okay. 16, the electric aggregation adder revolving account.
Is it?
I'll take that one. I'm not doing anything. I'm only doing one other one so far.
16 and 17, they're both,
Yeah, those are related,
They're
so
both funds.
both those.
Yeah.
All right,
we have to get Dan something.
we do. We
While
want
he's
that.
sleepy, let's give him something. He still has jet lag from rushing out over
We
here.
can do 18 and 19. Look at
Do you want
that.
to do 18 and 19, Dan?
Sure.
All right, you got it. Okay, 20 we have covered,
Yeah, 21.
21, 22, 23, 24.
You got 20, yes, you got mine.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Is 22 covered? Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
23,
Who wants
yeah.
mosquito control? Irene, you seem really passionate about mosquitoes.
I don't want to spend the money.
Oh.
I'm not convinced that it does much.
We still have answers that we have to answer for this, right?
Yeah.
Right. So do we need to get anybody in, or do we just need a memo
They're-
from them?
Well,
They're-
Tim,
Came.
Tim is going to answer most of our questions on the mosquito control. From what I watched, what the Board of Health had asked him, he's going to bring us up to date.
Okay,
But he did say something, threw out a figure of about 18,000 for April, May, and June.
got it.
So, I don't know how that works contractually, I don't know how they, all I do is, I need to ask him some questions, if when we get this approved at town meeting, I know they don't have a contract till the selectmen sign it, but does it start then?
Right. Okay.
So,
So there's $9,000 in the budget for larviciding. And Paul had said, I don't know if it was prior to the meeting, that
he does it in
it doesn't
April.
start until June. Normally that the town takes care of takes care of the larviciding right now.
In June.
It doesn't start till June.
Got it.
So that
Why did they
$9,000
say
is
spring?
sitting there.
So they technically could do it. They could pay
Well-
for the program, at least half of it,
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
funds that they already have.
Yep.
Right. And they said they had some extra training budget.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it all works for the state, because this is an assessment, so
Right.
I don't know how all that configures.
I don't think they care when they get their money or how they get their money, they just want it.
I don't, it comes right off the top of our budget before we decide on anything, but I just don't know if we get those three extra months to say that. Is that included in our assessment, and is that delayed until, that's what I'd like to know.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay. Well,
Anyway, but that doesn't answer who's gonna write this.
correct.
So you will ask that question to Tim tomorrow?
Yes. Yes.
I could do 25.
So we could give it to Mark, he knows all about mosquito
Dan
control.
said-
Mark could do it.
Huh? We could give it to Mark.
They can-
We need someone who can who has the time to do it, to make sure they have the time to do it.
Isn't Mark gonna be here next week, or tomorrow?
He's coming tomorrow.
Okay, then let's give it to Mark. Because his town meeting's over, right?
Yeah, he had,
Yep. He had town meeting this past week.
He's
I
not going
thought.
to be, well, he's not going to be here for town meeting.
Oh, I don't know, but
I
he
don't
still
know
can
when his
write the
town meeting is.
article. He knows all about mosquito control, I don't know
Okay.
that much about
Great.
it.
All right. 26. Institute Road cell towers lease purchase.
We'll have to wait for Tim, but I'm surprised Rich didn't come in.
I do not have an email from him. He's even responded to the information I sent him.
All right, I'll take the cell tower.
All right, you got it.
Somebody took the mosquitoes, so I'll take cell tower.
and then the next two will use Barry's, old.
I don't know, is he doing the sewer? Oh, we're gonna go use all of his
I'm doing the
recommendations,
sewer, but I'm
okay.
using last year's.
All right,
And
that's
then
good.
who wants the last one? Well, we don't even know what it is.
I don't even know what it's about.
Well,
If
we'll
we
know
only have
tomorrow.
money, that's about the only thing. It's just a placeholder, I think. I think he put it in there as a placeholder. If we have any extra money, we'll put it in stabilization.
But that's, again, so big.
I think.
Like IT stabilization? I mean, what are we
Well,
talking
the only
about?
ones we have, do we even,
We have-
yeah, we have the capital.
IT, we have the special education that the schools
Yeah.
have.
Well, I don't think he's planning that for, this is town administrator. I don't think he's putting anything in special, are they?
I would guess not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Hey, you never know.
I think so.
Those are the only two stabilization accounts I'm aware of, though.
Well, we have our stabilization, and then there's like a little sub thing, like municipal
Yeah.
stabilization money he sets aside, but that's not been dug into in a while, so.
Is there a capital?
Yeah, there's a capital one.
There's a capital, and then there's the road.
Yeah, but
Is it
then
what?
The road, but he's not gonna do it on the road.
Yeah.
The road stabilization's in another article, though.
Yeah,
That's totally separate.
but
I'll-
that's
I'll
the
take 30.
stabilization funds, correct?
Where's the capital stabilization? We only have one stabilization fund. Everything's in that,
I don't know that.
and we take out,
There's
where's,
sub
They do have
accounts.
the IT one, remember didn't we create an IT one?
There is an IT
Yep.
one.
Mhm.
we did.
Yeah, so that's another.
Under the stabilization, overall stabilization fund, there's subs in there, categories. I mean, we only have one fund. They're not all separate.
We'll find out. We'll see
We
what-
have the stabilization fund, and within that, there's designated money
Not-
in that
Going back
stabilization
and
fund,
forth on it.
if that's what I understand correctly.
Okay.
We'll find out,
I'm not sure
yeah.
how the accounts are organized.
Unless they've changed them, but
I'll have to
anyway.
look. I'm having
Well, they
big
can't change it
figures
yet.
tonight. I
So
don't
who's
have my
writing that
computer with
one?
me.
Matt said he would do it.
Oh,
I got
Matt's gonna do it.
Any other business? I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second.